Last call for registration. Last call for registration. Last Fire and Ice team sheet winners will have parade lap. So Mayor Prize, you guys have parade lap. You can start heading up there. We'll get that going here in a couple minutes. Registration is closed. Registration is closed. We'll get the track cleared off and get ready for our parade lap. Alrighty, if I can have everybody please rise and remove your ball caps to face the south end of the arena. We have our last Fire and Ice team sheet winners, a Mayor Prize for our national anthem. we'll open up the track for our balance bike practice. All of our balance bikers can head on out for their practice. Motos have been posted. Motos have been posted. Please check those moto sheets. Any corrections? Get up to registration. We'll have corrections open for the next 5 minutes, so please check your motos. All right, we'll go ahead and get our balance bikers started here. Got 3 racks of these guys today. Starting off with our 4-year-olds. Got 2 of these riders making it out on a Sunday today. We got Palmer out of Circle Pines, Minnesota, and Lakeland Plummy out of Isanti. They're single files. They come out of that corner, coming down that last straight. That's the 7:30. Plumley out front, followed up by Palmer in that 2. So Plumley going to take the 1. Palmer going to take the 2 out of our 4-year-olds. Next up, we got our 3-year-olds. 5 of these little guys: Daughtry, Moore, Anderson, Evans, and Brady. Again, single file coming down that last straightaway. That's the 380. Got to be Moore out on point, taking 2 of these guys straight to the main event. So it'll be the 240 of Moore. And there's a battle going on. The 830 is going to take that second transfer, Anderson. So Moore and Anderson taking those 2 transfers out of our 3-year-old balance bikes. Got our last rack of balance bikers in the gate right now. Got 7 of these 2-year-olds: Mellinson, Ike, Swartz, Record, Sorgert, Weiland, and Moore. Top 3 of these riders going straight to the main event with the top 3 gate picks. We got to talk to this kid about his plate. So the 860 is going to take that first transfer, the 733 and the 727. So in no particular order, it's going to be Swarwick with the first transfer, Sorgert with the second transfer, and Record with that last transfer out of Moto 3. Round 2 for our 4-year-olds. Got Palmer and Plummy out there. That's got to be the 730 of Plummy in that top spot, like round 1, followed up by Palmer in that 2 spot. The nice breakaway. Plummy's going to take that 1, and Palmer with that 2 as they head into that main event. Get our 3-year-olds loaded up for their second round. We've got Daughtry, Evans, and Brady. Last 3 fighting for those gate picks. Gate drops on these 3-year-olds, and it looks like we've got Brady with a lead going into that corner. She's checking out the crowd. We got the second place rider, though, sneaking in on her hip pocket, trying to make a move. He's going to take over that top spot. So the 614 is going to finish with that top spot, followed up by the 219 of Brady. And Evans with that 3 out of Moto 2, our 3-year-old balance bikes. Last rack of balance bikers, we've got Mellinson, Ike, Wineland, and more fighting for those transfer spots as they go into that main event. Single file as they come out of that turn. Looks like the 117 bike got to be Ike out on that top spot. 2 and 3 battling it out. We got Mellinson just enjoying life out there. She's going to sneak in by. So Ike's going to take that top spot. Mellinson sneaking by, going to take the 2. Wineland going to come in with that 3. Followed up by Moore with that 4 spot as they go into that main event. Those ones are mine. Do you want to write that? Oh. Main event for these 4-year-olds out on the track. That's got to be Plummy with a pair of aces. She's going to take that top spot in the overall 1 today, followed up by Palmer with that 2 in the overall 2 out of our 4-year-old balance bikers. Getting our 3-year-old balance bikers locked and loaded for their main event today. Here we go, main event for our 3-year-old balance bikers. We've got Daughtry, Moore, Anderson, Evans, and Brady out there. That looks like the 380 bike got to be Maverick Moore sitting on that top spot. He's got a nice breakaway as he hits that tabletop. He's going to take that 1 today, followed up. Oh, we got a nice battle, but it's going to be the 830 bike, followed up by the 614. So it's going to be Marr with that 1, Anderson with the 2, and Daughtry with that 3 out of our 3-year-old balance bikes. We got our last rack of balance bikers out on the track. Our 2-year-old, 7 of these riders out here on a Sunday afternoon. We got Mellison, Ike, Swigert, Record, Swargert, Weiland, and more. Got a nice battle for those top 2 spots coming down that last straightaway. It's going to be the 860 taking that top spot, the 733 followed up by the 727. So that's Swigert with the 1, Swargert with the 2, and Record with that 3. Ike in that 4th spot out of our 3-year-old balance bikers. Got our last 2 battling it out, making it entertaining to the very end there. And that'll do it for our balance bike racing. So listen up, riders, for your riders meeting. All right, it's a Sunday fun day, fire and ice. We've got our 12-year-old junior gals up in the chute or gate, locked and loaded. Seven of these gals making it out for our dash today. We got Lanigan, Vanderheyden, Anderson, Breheim, Shales, Brotzel, and Oren. That's got to be Lanigan out on point, followed up by Anderson in that 2 spot. Got to be Vanderheyden in that 2nd spot. As they come out of that last corner, level up colors, leading the way, followed up by Ameriprise, Anderson. So it's going to be Lanigan, Anderson, Vanderheyden, Orn. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of our junior gals. Got our 1329 Lady Dash in the gate right now. 5 of these riders. We've got McCulley, Elin, Henry, Garski, Tollefson. That's got to be Kenny E. in that top spot, followed up by Angie Henry in that 2 spot, Tollefson in that 3. As they come into corner 2. But it's a Ameriprise full tilt out on point. Coming down that last straightaway, it's going to go Elin, Henry, Tollefson, McCulley, Garski. Our senioritas up in the gate. We got Lee, Beebe, Bleesey, Donez, Farley, and Enberg. That's Kim Possible Farley out with a lead into that first corner, followed up by Enberg for Bandit BMX. That's got to be Chelsea Lee in that 2 spot, or 3 spot, as they come down that third straightaway. But it's Kim Farley with a nice lead. She's going to take that top spot, followed up by Enberg with that 2. Lee in the 3, BB 4, and Dones with that 5th out of our senioritas. First rack of our 12 and under junior dogs. Escalona, Zink, Elvin, Ortiz, and Kazitsa. Coming out of that first corner, looking like Zink in that top spot, followed up by Kozitsa in that 2, Escalona in that 3. Escalona making a move, taking over that second spot, so it's going to go Zink, Escalona, and Kozitsa with that 3. And our first rack of junior dogs. Second rack in the gate right now, we got Kurth, Peterson, Falkowski, Albers, Simmons. That's the monster Falkowski out on point, followed up by Henry Simmons in that 2 spot. Peterson in that 3s. They come out of that second corner. Down that last straightaway, it's still Ameriprise full tilt out on point, followed up by Embrace Black Sheep in that 2. So it's going to go Falkowski, Simmons, Peterson, 1, 2, 3, and our second rack of 12 and under dog. Third rack of our 12 and under junior dogs. We got Cologne, Anderson, Hertz, Lawrencer, Mackey. Nice battle in that first corner. That's got to be Corbin Hertz in that top spot, followed up by the 6 of Anderson in that 2. Got to be the Ghost Rider in that 3 spot. As they come down that last straightaway, it's FXR. Anderson trying to make a move. It's going to go Hertz, Anderson, Cologne. Out of Moto number 9. Moto 10 out on the track. This will be our last rack of our 12 and under dogs. There's 20 of those guys here today. That's got to be Jackson Stauffer for Answer out on point. Followed up by the gold 2. That's Caulfield in that 2 spot. Shannon in that 3. As they come single file in that last corner. But it's Stauffer with a nice breakaway. He's going to take that 1, followed up by Caulfield in that 2. Shannon in that 3. Vanderhayden with the 4. Out of Moto 10. Moto 11 out on the track are 1339 big dogs. We've got Lockinen, Tyson, Swanson, Bowman, and Blummer. That's got to be the Beast Blummer out on point, followed up by Lucas Tyson in that 2 spot. As they come into that second corner, followed up by Bowman in that 3. Coming down that last straightaway, it's going to go, I'm not calling that. But I know Bowman was in the 3. Was it Tyson Blummer? Okay, Tyson Blummer, Bowman for that first rack. Moto 12, our last rack of 1339 big dogs. We got Tyson, Bolin, Bowman, and Pollock. That is going to be Bryce Bowman in that top spot, followed up by Taden, Pollock in that 2 spot, Tyson or in that 3 as they come down that last straightaway. So it's going to go Bowman, Pollock, Tyson out of Moto 12. All right, our last dash in the gate. We've got 8 of these guys today. Zidane, McAllister, Meyer, Welter, Welch, Grote, Beard, and Pollock. I'm going to take a chance and say that's the Ninja Welter out on point, followed up by Tyler Pollock in that 2 spot, Marky Mark in that 3, Aaron Zidane in that 4 spot. They come down that last straightaway. It's going to go Welter, Pollock, Beard, Zidane, McAllister, Meyer out of our 40 and over senior dogs. 7 and 8 mixed open in the gate right now, Moto 14. 6 of these riders today. We got Sullivan, Cantos, Triplett, Peterson, Sullivan, and Caulfield. Marlo Caulfield taking a nice lead right out of the gate. Followed up by Lars Peterson in that 2 spot as they come out of that first corner. But it's a little crash out on point. Got Cantos in that 3 spot trying to make a move. We're going to take the top 3 of these riders straight onto the main event. These guys come down this last straightaway. It's going to be Caulfield, Peterson, and Cantos with those 3 transfers out of Moto 14. Moto 15 or 13-14 mixed open. Staffelhagen, Phillips, Breheim. That's got to be Staffelhagen, Dynasty BMX out on point, followed up by Phillips in that 2 spot. Cash Money in that 3. They come down that last straightaway. Nice single file line. It's going to go Staffelhagen, Phillips, Breheim out of Moto 15. Moto 16, 9-10 open. We've got Simons, Bleasy, Ortiz, and Simon. That's Black Widow colors. Got to be Little Poppy out point. Followed up by the D-Bike. Got to be Simon in that 2. Maddox in that 3 spot. We're going to take the top 2 riders straight on in the main event. And it's going to go Ortiz and Simon with the 2 transfers out of Moto 16. Moto 17 out on the track, 13-14 Girl Cruiser. We got the Queen of Hearts, Farley, and Caulfield. Oh, wait, nope. We're on Moto 18. Sorry, you did say that. We're on Moto 18, our 36-40 Women Cruiser. Little roulette around there. That's got to be the Shiner Bolin out on point. She's going to take that first transfer. Farley with that second transfer. And Enberg going to take the 3rd transfer out of Moto 18. I don't. All right, we're going to go on to Moto 19, our 8 cruisers. We've got Maurer, Mellinson, Kurth, and Kurth. That's got to be Mellinson out on point, followed up by one of the Kurth brothers. In that 2 spot, that's going to be Jake Kurth in that 2 spot. As they come down that 3rd straightaway, taking 2 of these riders to the main event. So looks like Mellinson's going to take that first transfer, and Jake Kurth going to get that second transfer out of Moto 19. All right, we're going to roll back to Moto 17, our 13-14 Girl Cruiser here. We've got the Queen of Hearts, Farley, and Caulfield. That's got to be Aria, Queen of Hearts, out on point, followed up by Little Crash in that 2 spot. Merca Farley in that 3. These ladies will be racing total points today, all 3 rounds. So it's going to go the Queen of Hearts with the 1, Caulfield with that 2, Farley with the 3 out of Moto 17. Jumping back to Moto 20, our 9 cruiser, we've got Kozitsa, Escalona, Peterson, Enberg. That's got to be Peterson out on point, followed up by Kozitsa in that 2. Escalona sitting in that 3 spot, taking 2 of these riders to the main event. Coming down that last straightaway, it's going to be Style Check Peterson with that first transfer and Freddie Kozitsa with that second out of our 9-year-old cruiser. 11-year-old cruiser out on the track, Moto 21. We've got Vanderhayden, Hoff, Zink. That's got to be the T-Train out on point, followed up by Wildman in that 2 spot, followed up by Zink in that 3. Total points for these riders today, so you'll see them around all 3 rounds. So Hoff's going to take that 1, Vanderhayden with the 2, Zink with that 3 out of our 11-year-old cruiser. Moto 22, 17, 20-year-old cruisers. We've got our Tater Tot, Atomic Kennedy, and the Flying Hot Dog out there. That's going to be Atomic Kennedy out on point, followed up by the Flying Hot Dog Lorenzer in that 2 spot. Tater Tot Bolin in that 3. Coming down that last straightaway, Kennedy's going to take that 1. We'll see what's going to happen. I'm not calling that either. Tate with the 2. Zach with the 3 out of our 17, 20-year-old. Moto 23, 36, 40-year-old cruiser out on point. We've got Olson, Welch, Moe, Josh Moe out on point. Followed up by Olson in that 2 spot. So Moe's going to take that 1. Olson the 2, Welch the 3 out of Moto 23. Moto 24, 51 to 55 cruiser out on point. Another total point race here. We've got Meyer, Staffelhagen, and Oberg. Meyer out on point, followed up by Oberg in that 2 spot. Staffelhagen in that 3 as they come down that last straightaway. But it's bent rim colors, going to take that 1 today. So Meyer with the 1, Oberg the 2, Staffelhagen with that 3 out of Moto 24. Moto 25 out on the track, our first rack of 5 and under novice. We got Escalona, Rope, Sullivan, Welch, and Rope. Ooh, the 46, Escalona taking over that top spot, followed up by the 154 of Sullivan in that 2 spot. We're taking 2 of these riders straight on to the main event. These top 2, we got Escalona and Sullivan with a nice breakaway. These 2 are going to take those 2 transfers. So Escalona and Sullivan out of Moto 25. Moto 26, last rack of 5 and under novice. We got Ike, Rierson, Brady, Moe, Mellinson. Nice single file line as they come into that first corner. As soon as I can read a plate number. Oh, the 118, Moe, going to take over that top spot, followed up by Brady in that 2. The 68 of Mellinson in that 3 spot. Again, taking 2 riders straight onto the main event. These little guys got a nice single file line going on. So the 118 of Alexandria Moe, she's going to take that top first transfer, and Kiefer Brady going to take that second transfer out of Moto 26. Moto 27, our 6-year-old novices, we've got Griffith, Soderman, and Beard. That's the 245. That's Soderman out on point, followed up by Griffith in that 2 spot, Beard in that 3. Adrian Phillips, you are needed in the chutes. Adrian Phillips, you are needed in your chute. All right, so our 6-year-old novices, that would have been Soderman with that 1, Griffith with the 2, Beard with that 3. Moto 28, 7 novices out on the track. We've got Sullivan, Griffith, and Barfield. Not sure who's who out there. So we got the 153, Sullivan, he's going to take that 1. Barfield taking the 2, Griffith with that 3 out of our 7-year-old novices. Moto 29, 10 novice out on the track. We've got Bolton, Gardson, Cantos, Record, and Palmer. The 321 Cantos out on point, followed up by the 726, a Record in that 2 spot. We're going to take the top 2 riders straight on the main event, so that's going to be Cantos with that first transfer, and the 726 of Evelyn Record with that second transfer out of our 10-year-old novice. All right, getting our 13-year-old novices locked and loaded. Got 7 of these guys: Phillips, Olson, Urbanski, Soderholm, Lonsky, Palmer, Geese. Dropping one off right down the first straight there. Nice battle for 1 and 2. This is 791 and the 530. Going into that last corner, we're taking 3 of these riders straight onto the main event. So it's going to be the 791, the 530, and the 769. So it'll be Phillips with the transfer, Olson with the transfer, and Geese with that final transfer. Down rider back up. Let's give them a hand. Our 46 to 50 novice, Moto 31. We got Lee, Austin, Grote, Johansson, and Staffelhagen. Got a nice battle of Austin and Johansson for that 1 and 2. Staffelhagen in that 3 spot. As they come into that last corner, taking 2 of these riders onto the main event, so it's going to be Austin with that first transfer and Rejo with that second transfer. Moto 32, 5 and under intermediates, we've got Peterson, Stauffer, Simmons, Triplett, and Enberg. That's got to be little Willow Simmons out on point with her nice, shiny new 2 Gold Cup plate, followed up by Emmy Peterson in that 2 spot. That's got to be Isla Triplett in that 3. Nice single file line as they come into that last corner. Taking 2 of these riders straight on to the main event. So Simmons going to get that first transfer, followed up by Peterson with that second. Out of our 5 and under intermediates. Moto 33, 7 inners out on the track. We got Peterson, Bailey, McGowan, and Moss. That's got to be Peterson out on point, followed up by Moss in that 2 spot. Got to be Mason in that 3. So it's going to be Lars taking that first transfer. And the 73 of Bailey taking that second transfer out of our 7 intermediates. Moto 34, 8 inner out on the track. We've got Brady, Beard, Elvin, and Maurer. Gold Cup 3 of Elvin out on point, followed up by Crank Lab. Got to be Maurer in that 2 spot. Miss Brady in that 3 as they come down that last straightaway. Top 2 riders going straight on. So it'll be Elvin with the 1 and Maurer with that last transfer. Moto 35, 9 intermediates. We've got Shuey, Lonsky, and Mackey. That's Berger, Mackey out on point, followed up by Liam Lonsky in that 2 spot. Shuey in that 3 as they come in that last corner. Total point racing for these guys, so we'll see them back around. So it's going to be Mackey with that 1, Lonsky with the 2, Shuey with the 3 out of our 9 inners. Moto 36, 11 intermediate, we got Enoff, Brady, Zeifer, Geese, Moss, and Breheim. The 8 bike of Enoff out on point, followed up by the 770 of Geese in that 2 spot. Zypher in that 3 as they come down that last straightaway. Going to take the top 3 riders, so it's going to be end off. Geese and Zypher, 1, 2, 3 with those transfers. Out of Moto 36. Moto 37, 12 intermediate. We got Tarnaski, Staffelhagen, Oberg. That's got to be Tarnaski out on point, followed up by Staffelhagen in that 2 spot. Oberg in that 3. As they come down that last straightaway, it's all the Gold Cup 2 plate of Tarnaski. Going to take that 1. Wesley Staffelhagen with that 2. Oberg with that 3. Out of Moto 37. Moto 38, 26, 35 inners. We've got Simmons, Nelson, Beard, Farley. That's got to be Kachow Simmons out on point, followed up by Marky Mark in that 2 spot. As they come in that last corner, 2 of these riders moving straight on to the main event. It's going to be Simmons with that 1, Beard with that 2. Out of Moto 38. Moto 39, 7 girl out on track. We've got Mings, Kurth, Mo, Farley, Shales. Adeline McCulley to the gate. Adeline, you're needed in the gate right now. All right, 7 girls. We got Mings, Kurth, Mo, Farley, Shales. That's got to be Casey Ray Mings out on point, followed up by Shales in that 2 spot. Farley in that 3. So Mings going to take the first transfer. Shales with that second transfer. Out of Moto 39, 7 girl. Moto 40 out on the track, 10 girl. We got Anderson, Breheim, Orn. That's Annabelle Anderson, Mayor Price full tilt out on point, followed up by Orn in that 2. Fireball Breheim in that 3 spot, making her girl expert debut today. So Anderson taking that 1, Orn that 2, Fireball that 3 out of our 10-year-old girl. 12-year-old girl experts out on the track, Moto 41, Bratzel, Lanigan, Vanderhayden. That's Lanigan level up out on point, followed up by Vanderhayden for Mayor Price full tilt in that 2 spot. Bratzel for Fusion Racing in that 3. As they come down that last straightaway, it's still level up colors out on point. Lanigan going to take that 1. Vanderhayden the 2. Bratzel the 3 out of our 12-year-old girl. Moto 42, 13-year-old girl out on the track. We've got McCulley, Garski, Tollefson. That's got to be little JT Tollefson out on point, followed up by little Red McCulley in that 2 spot. Crank Lab of Garski in that 3. As they come down that out of that last corner, it's going to be box colors of Tollefson. She's going to take that 1, little Red, the 2. Garski, the 3 out of our 13-year-old X. 14-year-old girl experts out on the track. We've got Jensen, Queen of Hearts, and Elin. That's got to be Kenny E out on point. She's going to followed up by the 4 of Ari Jensen in that 2 spot. Queen of Hearts in that 3. Nice single file line as they come out of that last corner. But it's a Ameriprise full tilt of Kenny E. She's going to take that 1. Jensen going to take the 2. Queen of Hearts with that 3 out of 14-year-old girl. Moto 44, 7X out on the track. We've got Smith, Simmons, Simon, and Mellinson. That's got to be Simmons out on point, followed up by Mellinson in that 2 spot. That's got to be the Cowboy in the 3. As they come down that last straightaway, it's the Gold Cup 1, though. Jack Simmons, he's going to take that first transfer, followed up by Mellinson with that second transfer out of our 7X. Moto 45, 8 experts out on the track. We got Ortiz, Kurth, and Nelson. That's got to be Ortiz out on point, followed up by the State 2 of Nelson in that 2 spot. Followed up by Pete Kurth in that 3. 2 of these riders going straight on to the main event. It's going to be Ortiz going to take that first one. Nelson that second transfer out of our 8-year-old experts. Moto 46, 9X out on the track. We got Bleasy, Enberg, Stopka, Escalona, Kozitsa, Simons, and Peterson. That's got to be Peterson out on point, followed up by Escalona in that 2 spot. Kozitsa in that 3. Taking the top 3 riders, it's going to go Escalona, Peterson, Kozitsa with those transfers out of Moto 46. Moto 47 out on the track, 10 experts. Zink, Vanderhayden, Albers, Caulfield. That's got to be the Warhog Caulfield out on point, followed up by Wildman Vanderhayden for a Merit Prize full tilt in that 2 spot. Got to be Zink in that 3. So Caulfield's going to get our first transfer. Vanderhayden with that last transfer out of our 10-year-old experts. 11 experts out on the track, 48. We've got Cologne, Hoff, Simmons, and Falkowski. That's the monster out on point. Followed up by the T-Train in that 2 spot. Simmons in that 3, taking the top 2 riders. It's going to be Falkowski and Hoff with the 2 transfers out of Moto 48. Moto 49, 12X, Anderson, Lornzer, Shannon, Stauffer, Hertz. Got to be Jackson Stauffer for Answer BMX out on point, followed up by Corbin Hertz in that 2 spot for FXR Dance Comp. Taking the top 2 riders to the main event, so it's going to be Stauffer with the transfer, Hertz with that second transfer out of Moto 49. Second round, you guys should be heading back to staging. Second round, you guys should be heading back to staging. Moto 50, 13X out on the track, Swanson, Moss, Tyson. Total point racing for these guys. Merit Prize full tilt, got to be Jacob Tyson out on point, followed up by Dynasty Swanson in that 2. Tyson with the 1, Swanson, the 2. Moss going to take that 3 out of our 13-year-old X. 14 experts out on the track, Tyson, Bowman, Lockinen, Fritzmeyer. That's Tyson out on point with Bowman making a move for that second spot. Lockinen in that 2. They come down that last straightaway, the top 2. Going to take the transfers. So Aiden's getting 1, and Lucas. Fritzmeyer and Tyson getting the 2 transfers out of Moto 51. Moto 52 out on the track. We've got Henry, Miller, Kodrowski, and Pollock. That's got to be Cooper Kodrowski for FXR. He's going to take that first transfer, followed up by the State 1. That's Pollock for Black Widow with that second transfer out of Moto 52. 53, we've got Riederman, Bowman, Triplett, Blummer, and Kennedy. That's got to be the Beast, Blummer, out on point. Taking 2 of these riders, so it looks like we've got Blummer and looks like Riederman in that second spot. So yeah, Riederman's going to take that second transfer out of Moto 53. Moto 54 out on the track, Welter, Smith, Olson, Pollock. Merit Prize full tilt, got to be Welter out on point, followed up by Pollock for Black Widow in that 2 spot. Olson in that 3, trying to make a move in there, taking the top 2 riders to the main event. Looks like it's going to be Pollock and Welter with those transfers. All right. Our last rack, Moto 55, we've got McAllister, Miller, Zidane, Oberg. Bent rim, got to be McAllister out on point, followed up by Zidane, FXR in that 2 spot. Todd Miller in that 3. Top 2 riders moving on. Come down that last straightaway, it's going to be McAllister with the transfer and Zidane with that second transfer. All right, we'll take just a short break here, little paperwork, and we'll move right on in to round 2. Jody Dones. Jody Dones, you racing your Pro-Am? You're needed at the hill. Dash, sorry, not Pro-Am. I don't know what day it is. Which one? All right. Getting all of our dashers situated up here, and we'll get started with our second round. Kicking her off with our 12 and under junior gals. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I forget I'm in charge sometimes. All right, here we go with our 12 and under junior gals. We've got Lanigan, Vanderhayden, Anderson, Breheim, Shales, Brotzel, Orn. Tamara Price full tilt in that top spot, followed up by Level Up. As they come down that second straight, it's got to be Anderson in that first spot, Lanigan in that 2, Vanderhayden in the 3, Orn in that 4. As they come into that third corner, nice single file line for these ladies. They're going to finish. It's going to go Anderson, Lanigan, Vanderhayden, Orn, Brotzel, Breheim, and Shales out of our 12 and under junior gals. Got our big lady dogs out on the track. McCulley, Elin, Henry, Garski, Tollefson. Kenny E out on point, followed up by Henry for Dynasty Racing. Tollefson in that 3 spot, Little Red in that 4. Coming down that third straightaway, it's Kenny E all day out on point. Tollefson trying to make a move on Henry, but it's going to go Elin, Henry, Tollefson, McCulley, Garski out of our big lady dogs. Senoritas. We've got Lee, Beebe, Bleesey, Dones, Farley, and Enberg. That's Kim Farley out on point, followed up by Enberg in that 2 spot. Got to be Chelsea Lee in that 3, Beebe in the 4. These ladies are all single file as they come down that last straightaway, but it's Kim Possible Farley all day out on point. She's going to take that top spot, followed up by Enberg in the 2. Chelsea Lee going to take that 3 spot. Beebe with the 3 or 4. And Dones with that 5th spot out of our senoritas. 12 and under junior dogs. We got 20 of these riders. We got Shannon, Kurth, Stauffer, Caulfield, Hertz. That's Stauffer out on point, followed up by Hertz in that 2 spot. Caulfield in that 3. Shannon in that 4 spot. Another single file line as they come down that last straightaway. But it's going to be Stauffer with the 1, Hertz with the 2, Caulfield with that 3, Shannon with the 4, and Kurth following up out of our first rack. Second rack of 12 and under junior dogs. We've got Ortiz, Peterson, Lornzer, Stopka, and Simmons. Henry Simmons with a nice breakaway coming down that first straightaway. He's going to take the lead going into that first corner, followed up by Peterson in that 2 spot. Got to be Ortiz in that 3. Lornzer in that 4 spot. Stopka with the caboose. Ooh, nice battle for 3 and 4 back there, but it's going to go Simmons with that 1, Peterson with the 2, Ortiz with the 3, Lornzer 4, Stopka out of our second rack. Third rack of 12 and under junior dogs out on the track. We've got Albers, Korzitsa, Zink, Mackey, Elvin. Zink going to get a lead coming down that first straightaway, followed up by Korzitsa in that 2 spot. Crank Lab got to be Albers in that 3 spot as they come down that second straightaway. Zink still in that lead, followed up by Fusion. Crank Lab in that 3. Mackey going to in that 4. Elvin coming down that last straightaway. It's going to go Zink with that 1. Kozitsa with the 2. Albers with the 3. Mackey with that 4. And Elvin with the 5. Out of Moto 9. Moto 10, last rack of our 12 and under junior dogs. We've got Anderson, Escalona, Cologne, Felkowski, and Vanderhayden. Anderson and Felkowski got a nice battle going into that first corner. Anderson going to take that top spot, followed up by Felkowski. He's got to be Cologne in that 3 spot as they come out of that second corner. Looks like Escalona in that 4th. They come down that last straightaway. It's going to go Anderson, Felkowski, Cologne, Escalona, and Vanderhayden out of Moto 10. Moto 11, our big first rack of our big dogs. We've got Lockett, Tyson, Swanson, Bowman, and Blummer. Got to be the beast with that initial lead coming out of that first corner, followed up by Tyson in that 2 spot. That's got to be Bowman in that 3, Lockett, followed up by Pollock. Come down that last straightaway, it's going to be Blummer with that 1, Tyson with the 2, Bowman with the 3, Lockett 4, Pollock 5. Out of Moto 11. All right, our second rack of big dogs out on the track. We've got Bowman, Swanson, Bolin, Tyson. That's going to be Bowman out on point, followed up by Tyson in that 2 spot, Swanson in that 3, Bolin in that 4 spot. As they come out of that third corner, level up colors, leading the way. Bowman's going to take that 1, Tyson the 2, Swanson the 3, Bolin the 4 out of the last rack of big dogs. Moto 13, our 40 and over senior dogs out there. We got Zidane, McAllister, Meyer, Welter, Welch, Grote, Beard, and Pollock. That's the Ninja out on point. Followed up by Marky Mark in that 2. Nice battle for 2 and 3. Zidane making a move, taking over that second spot as they come out of that second corner. Looks like we got McAllister in that 4 spot. Coming down that last straightaway, it's going to go Welter, Zidane, Beard, Meyer, McAllister, and then Welch, Grote, and I don't know what happened to Pollock. But that's our 40 and over senior dogs out there. All right, here we go. 7 and 8 mixed open, Moto 14. Let's see. We should have Sullivan, and Triplet. Got 3 of these riders battling it out for the last 3 gate picks. The 153 of Joseph Sullivan, followed up by Finley Sullivan in that 2 spot. Triplet in that 3. As they make their way around that third corner. But it's Joseph Sullivan out on point. He's going to take that 1 this round, followed up by Finley with the 2. Triplet with that 3 out of Moto 14. Moto 15, 13, 14 mixed open. We got 2 of these riders answering the call. Staffelhagen, Breheim. That's got to be Staffelhagen out on point, followed up by Cash Money in that 2 spot. Wesley is going to take that 1. Breheim, the 2 this round out of our 13-14 mixed open. 9-10 open out on the track. We've got Bleesy and Simon. That's got to be the Smoke Bleesy for Black Sheep BMX, followed up by Dynasty Simon in that 2 spot. Battling out for the last 2 gate picks. So Bleesy's going to take the 1 this round. Simon with that 2 out of our 9-10 open. Moto 17, 13-14 Girl Cruiser. Total points for these girls. We've got Queen of Hearts, Marika Farley, and Little Crash Caulfield. That's the Queen of Hearts out on point. followed up by Little Crash in that 2 spot. Fusion Colors of Farley in that 3. As they make their way down that last straightaway. How they finished first round is how they're going to finish this one. So Queen of Hearts with that 1, Little Crash with that 2, and Farley with that 3 out of our 13-14 girl cruiser. Moto 18, 3640 women cruiser out on the track. We've got Dones, Miller, Beebe, and Bleesey out there. That is a Black Ship, got to be Miller in that top spot, followed up by Dones in that 2 spot, repping her beginner league jersey, followed up by Beebe in that 3rd spot. So Miller going to take the 1 this round. Dones going to take, Beebe sliding in for that 2. Dones going to take that 3 out of Moto 18. Moto 19 out on the track, our 8-year-old cruisers. We've got a Kurth and Maurer out there. That's got to be the Commander Maurer. He's going to take that 1, followed up by Pete Kurth in that 2 out of our 8-year-old cruisers.
Did you hear me like pause? I was like, no, don't say that.
All right, we got our 9-year-old cruisers out there. Looks like Escalona and Enberg. That's level up. Got to be Escalona out on point, followed up by Enberg in that 2. So Easy going to take that 1. Jasper Enberg with that 2 out of our 9-year-old cruisers. Moto 21, 11 cruiser out on the track. We should have Vanderheyden, Hoff, and Zink. That is the T-Train out on point, followed up by the Wildman in that 2 spot. Zink in that 3. So they make their way down that last straightaway, but it's Black Widow Colors out on point. He's going to take that 1. Vanderheyden the 2. Zink the 3 out of our 11-year-old cruisers. Moto 22, 17, 20-year-old cruisers out on the track. We've got Tater Tot Bolin, Adam Kennedy, and Lornzer out there. That's got to be Kennedy out on point, followed up by Tater Tot Bolin for Black Widow in that 2 spot. The Flying Hot Dog in that 3. So Kennedy taking the 1, Bolin taking the 2, and Lornzer with that 3 out of Moto 22. Moto 23, 36-40 cruiser. We got Olsen, Welch, and Moe. That is Moe Skyline up out there in that top spot. Followed up by Olsen in that 2 spot, Welch in that 3. Nice and spread out as they come down that last straightaway, but Moe's going to take that top spot. And Welch is going to sneak in there with that 2. Olsen getting the 3 this round. Out of Moto 23, 51-55 cruiser out on the track. Meyer, Stoffelhagen, and Oberg. That is Bent Rim. Got to be Mike Meyer out on point, followed up by Oberg for Dynasty BMX in that 2 spot. Stoffelhagen in that 3. So Meyer going to take that 1, Oberg the 2, Stoffelhagen the 3, just like round 1 out of our 51-55 cruisers. Moto 25 out on the track. Our first rack of 5 and under novices. Got 10 of these little guys making it out on a Sunday afternoon. 2 of these riders going to the main event. We've got Rope, Welch, and Rope. That's the... Wait a minute. The 208, that's Welch. Losing a rider. Couple of riders back there. We got Jack Welch. He's in that top spot making it around down that last straightaway. We got the 699 of Jackson Rope making it around. Getting our down rider checked out in that first corner there. But Jack Welch is going to take that first transfer. And it looks like Jackson Rope will be taking that second transfer out of our first rack of 5-year-old novice. Let's take a minute here and get our down riders checked out. Just want to remind everybody we've got our spooktacular weekend coming up, October 24th through the 22nd. We'll be racing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will be having a trunk or treat Also, costume and coloring contest going on, so be sure to check out all those details on our Facebook page. Got a couple clinics coming up in October. You can check them out and get registered for those on our website at rumriverbmx.com. Looks like our down riders getting picked up here. Let's give them a hand. Not how they wanted to finish their Saturday or Sunday racing. I just want to remind all of our parents that all of our volunteers are trained medically, and we will call you out on the track if we need you. Other than that, please do not run out on the track. We'll let our volunteers do their job and handle the situation. Thank you. All right, we'll get back to racing here. Second rack of 5 and under novice, Moto 26. We've got Ike, Rierson, and Mellinson taking two of these riders to the main event. A nice little breakaway down that first straightaway. Not too sure who's in the top spot here. Ooh, the 835, that's got to be Rierson in that top spot, followed up by Mellinson in that 2. Ike in that 3. Top 2 riders making it to the main event today. So it looks like the 835 bike going to take that first transfer, and the 68 bike of Mellinson with that last transfer out of Moto 26. Moto 27 out on the track. Our 6-year-old novices. We've got the Soderman, Griffith, and Beard. Soderman out on point, followed up by Theodore Griffith in that 2 spot. Not stopping Beard in that 3 as they make their way down that last straightaway. It's going to be Soderman with that 1, Griffith with that 2, Beard with that 3 out of our 6-year-old novices. 7 novice out on the track, another total point race. We've got Joseph Sullivan out on the point, followed up by Bartheld in that 2 spot, Griffith in that 3. As they come into that last corner, but Sullivan's got a nice breakaway. He's going to keep that top spot, followed up by Bartheld in that 2, Griffith in that 3 out of Moto 28. Moto 29, 10 novice out on the track. We're looking for Bolton, Gardson, and Palmer. These last 3 riders battling out for gate pick positions. That's the 533. That's Bolton. He's going to take the 1 this round. Followed up by Palmer in that 2. Gardson in that 3 out of our 10-year-old novice. Thirteen-year-old novice out on the track. Moto 30. We've got Urbanski, Lonsky, and Palmer. That's got to be the 628 of Lonsky going to take that top spot. The 534 of Urbanski in that 3. Followed up by Palmer in that 3 spot out of our 13-year-old novice. 46 to 50-year-old novice, Moto 31 out on the track. We've got Lee, Grote, and Staffelhagen. That's got to be Staffelhagen out on point, followed up by the Copper Cowboy in that 2 spot as they battle down that last straightaway. And it's going to go the Copper Cowboy with that 1, Stoffelhagen with the 2, Lee with that 3 out of Moto 31. Moto 32, 5 and under intermediates out on the track. We've got Stauffer, Triplet, Enberg. That's got to be 63, Eli Stauffer out on point, followed up by Charlotte Enberg in that 2 spot. Triplet in that 3. As they make their way out of that last corner there, but it is Stauffer with a nice breakaway. He's going to take the 1 this round, followed up by Enberg in that 2 spot. Triplet going to finish in that 3 out of our 5 and under. 7 intermediates out on the track. We've got McGowan, and Moss. That's got to be Electric Enzo out on point, followed up by Mason McGowan in that 2 spot. Caleb in that 3. So it's going to go Enzo with the 1, Mason with the 2, Caleb with that 3 out of our 7 inners. Moto 34, 8 intermediate. We should have Brady and Beard out on the track. That's got to be don't call me Little Brady. Out on point, followed up by Boomerang Beard in that 2 spot. As they battle it out for those last 2 gate picks. But it is Prodigy Colors of Brady. She's going to take that 1st spot. Beard going to finish with that 2 out of our 8-year-old inners. 9 intermediate, Moto 35. We should have Shuey, Lonsky, and Mackey. Fusion Colors got to be Mackey out on point, followed up by Lonsky in that 2 spot. Shuey in that 3 as they make their way into that 3rd corner. Fusion Colors out on point. Mackey going to take that top spot, followed up by Lonsky in the 2. Shuey going to get that 3 out of our 9 inners. Moto 36, 11 intermediate out on the track. Looks like we've got Brady, Moss, and Breheim out there. That has got to be Zeke Lightning in that top spot, followed up by Cash Money in that 2 spot, and Cannonball Brady in that 3. So Moss, Breheim, Brady for our 11-year-old intermediates. 12 inners, Moto 37. We have Tarnaski, Staffelhagen, and Oberg. That's got to be Kale Karnaski out on point, followed up by Staffelhagen in that 2 spot, Oberg in that 3. As they come down that last straightaway, Gold Cup 2 of Tarnaski going to take that top spot, Staffelhagen in the 2, Oberg with that 3 out of our 12-year-old intermediates. 26-35 intermediate, Moto 38. We should have Nelson and Farley right her down in that 2nd corner. We're going to get him checked out here. Farley making it out. Farley going to take the 1 this round. No line over in concessions right now. Our special today is tachos, one of my favorite things. Getting a bike repaired for these little girls real quick. Like to give all of our riders a fair advantage coming out the gate here. It'll be just a second. Luckily, we got two of our trusty mechanics up on the hill today. Big shout out to Steve Tyson and Randy Vanderhayden up there, two of the best track dads here at Rum River. Looking out for all the kids. All right, here we go. Getting started with our 7-year-old experts, Moto 39. We've got Kurth, Mo, and Farley out there. Gate drops. Looks like Farley's got a nice lead away coming out the gate. Nice battle for 1 and 2 going into that first corner. Mo's going to come out of there on tops, followed up by Farley in that 2 spot. Kurth in that 3. Something doesn't sound right with this rider's bike in third. As they come down, it's going to go Mo, Farley. Bob, will you check her bike? Kurth is going to be in that 3 spot. Out of Moto 39 or 7X girls. Moto 40 out on the track, 10X. We've got Annabelle, the Fireball Breheim, and Orn. It's got to be Annabelle Anderson in that top spot. She's going to cross with the 1. Orn with that 2. Fireball in that 3 out of our 10 girl. 12 girl out on the track. Moto 41, Bratzel, Lanigan, Vanderhayden. That's level up. Got to be Lanigan in that top spot, followed up by Vanderhayden in that 2. Bratzel in that 3. As they come into that third corner, level up colors still out on point. Lanigan's going to take that 1. Vanderhayden the 2. Bratzel the 3 out of our 12 girl. 13 girl out on track. We got McCulley, Garski, and Tollefson. That's got to be Little JT in that top spot. Garski in that 2, followed up by Little Red in the 3. They make their way down that last straightaway, so it'll go Tollefson with the 1, Garski with the 2, McCulley with that 3. Out of Moto 42, Moto 43, 14 girl, Jensen, Queen of Hearts, and Elin. Kenny E out on point, followed up by Jensen in that 2 spot, Queen of Hearts in that 3. Just like round 1, as they make their way down that last straightaway. It's going to go Kenny E with the 1, Jensen with that 2, Queen of Hearts with the 3 out of our 14-year-old girl. 7X out on the track. We've got Smith and Simon. Nice battle between these two coming down that second straightaway. It's going to be Smith with the lead, but Wesson taking over shortly after. Oh, no. And here we go, Smith in the lead again, but Wesson's not giving up. As they make their way down that last straightaway, it's anybody's game. And it's going to be Smith with that 1 and Simon with that 2 out of our 7-year-old experts. 8X out on the track, 45. We're looking for Kurth and Kurth. And it's got to be Jake Kurth out on point, followed up by his brother Pete in that 2nd spot. Going into that third corner. Nice single file line. Pete's not giving up just yet, but Jake's going to take that 1. Pete, the 2 out of our 8-year-old experts. 9X out on the track. Looks like we've got Stavka out on point in that 7 bike, followed up by the 11 of Enberg and the D bike of Simon. 1, 2, 3 out of our 9-year-old experts. 10X out on the track, 47. We have Zink and Albers. That's the 12 bike of Colton Zink out on point, followed up by Crank Lab Albers in that 2 spot. Making their way out of corner 3, Zink still out on point. He's going to take that 1 this round. Albers the 2 out of our 10-year-old experts. 11 experts out on the track. We've got Cologne and Simmons. That is the Ghost Rider Dynasty out on point, followed up by Simmons in that 2 spot. Battling out for those last gate picks. It's going to be the Ghost Rider. Cologne going to take that 1. Simmons with the 2 out of our 11-year-old experts. Moto 49, 12X out on the track. We've got Anderson, Lawrencer, and Shannon. That's got to be Parker Shannon level up out on point, followed up by the Roadrunner Anderson in that 2 spot. Flying Hot Dog in that 3. Making their way down that last straightaway, it's going to be Shannon with the 1, Anderson with that 2, Lawrencer with the 3 out of our 12-year-old experts. 13X out on the track, we've got Swanson, Moss, and Tyson. Mary Price full tilt, got to be Tyson out on point, followed up by Swanson in that 2 spot. The Bolt Moss in that 3. Tyson going to take that 1, Swanson 2, Moss 3 out of our 13-year-old experts. 14X out on the track. We should have Bowman and Lockinen side by side as they come into that second corner. Jesus. All right. So Lockinen's out on point in Crank Lab. Bowman in that 2 for level up out of our 14-year-old experts. Moto 52, 16X out on the track. We should have Miller and Henry. That's Black Sheep out on point. Got to be Jack Miller, followed up by Angie Henry in that 2 spot. These two battling out for those last 2 gate picks. But Miller's got a nice breakaway. He's going to take that 1. Henry, the 2 out of Moto 52. 53, 21 to 25 experts out on the track. We've got Bowman, Triplet, and Kennedy. That's got to be Bowman out on point, followed up by Kennedy in that 2 spot. Triplet in the 3. As they head into the third corner, level up colors still out on point. Bowman going to take that 1. Kennedy the 2, Triplet the 3 out of Moto 53. Moto 54 are 36 to 40-year-old experts. We should have Smith and Olsen out there. That's FXR, got to be Josh Smith out on point, followed up by Olsen in that 2 spot. As they come down that third straightaway. So Josh Smith's going to take that 1. Olsen the 2 out of our 36 to 40X. All right, our last rack for second round here, 51 to 55 experts. We've got Miller and Oberg out there. That's got to be the Eclair Nightmare. Miller out on point, followed up by Oberg for Dynasty BMX in that 2 spot. Making their way down that last straightaway. It's going to be Todd with the 1 and Brian with the 2 out of Moto 55. All right, in about 5 minutes, we will need all of our third rounds for the little dogs and the big dogs up on the hill for your third round. We'll get that going here in about 5 minutes. we'll get third round kicked off here with our 12 and under junior dogs. We've got Hertz, Mackey, Albers, Zink, and Caulfield. Gate drops on these guys. FXR with a nice lead. That's got to be Corbin Hertz. Followed up by the Warhawk. Caulfield in that 2 spot. Zink in that 3. Coming into that second corner. Nice single file line. These guys are fighting for their spot for their semis. So it's going to go Hertz with that 1. Caulfield with the 2. Zink 3. Albers 4. Mackey with that 5 for our first rack. Second rack of our 12 and under junior dogs. We have Anderson, Kozitsa, Lawrencer, Shannon, and Kurth. That's got to be the road runner, Anderson, for Crank Lab out on point, followed up by Level Up Colors. Got to be Shannon in that 2 spot, Kozitsa in that 3, Lawrencer in that 4 as they make their way down that third straightaway. Nice single foil line. It's going to go Anderson. Oh, I'm not calling that. I know Lawrencer got the 4. All right. What? All right, so Shannon is going to get that 2. Kozitsa with the 3. Out of that second rack. Third rack of 12 and under junior dogs. We've got Ortiz, Peterson, Vanderhayden, Simmons, and Escalona. Got to be the wild man out on point. He's going to finish with the 1. Simmons with that 2. Ooh, I'm not calling that either. All right, our last rack of 12 and under junior dogs out on the track. We've got Stauffer, Cologne, Stopka, Falkowski, and Elvin. That's going to be Stauffer out on point, followed up by Falkowski in that 2, Cologne in that 3, Stopka in that 4 as they come down that third straightaway. Nice single file line. But it's Answer out on point, Stauffer, followed up by Ameriprise. So it's going to go Stauffer, Falkowski, Cologne, Stopka, and Elvin for our last rack of junior dogs. What? Oh, Peterson. So we're going to go back. So Peterson, Odin Peterson, you're going to get that 3 out of that third rack, junior dogs. All right, our big dogs out on the track. We've got Bowman, Lockinen, Tyson, Pollock, and Tyson. It's going to be Lucas Tyson out on point, followed up by Lockinen in that 2 spot. Jacob Tyson in that 3. Followed up by Pollock in that 4, making their way down that last straightaway, and everybody's going to shut down. Awesome. So Lockinen, Jacob, Tayden, Lucas, and a Bowman. That's what I got. All right, second rack of our big dogs. We've got Bowman, Swanson, Blummer, and Bolin. Ooh, that's got to be Bowman out on point, followed up by Blummer in that 2 spot. Swanson in that 3. Bolin in that 4. So they make their way down that last straightaway. It's still Level Up Colors. Bowman out on point. He's going to take that 1. Blummer with the 2. Swanson with that 3. And Bolin with the 4. Out of our last rack of the big dogs. All right, we're going to do some paperwork here, get some things situated. And we'll go ahead and get our semis going here in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes for our semis. locked and loaded in the gate here. We'll get that rolling in just a second. Get all of our track volunteers to their positions. I'm talking to you, Adam. All right, we're going to get it started here. Looks like we got our first rack locked and loaded. We got Stauffer, Simmons, Falkowski, Kozitsa, Peterson, Vanderheyden, Escalona, and Ortiz. Got 16 of these riders. Need to get it down to the fast 8 for our main event. As the gate drops, looks like Stauffer's taking over the lead, followed up by Valkowski in that 2 spot. Got to be Vanderheyden in that 3. As they make their way single file line. Yeah, it's Stauffer in that 2. Valkowski, Vanderheyden, Escalona. Going into that 3rd corner, coming down that last straightaway, it's still Answer out on point. So it's going to go Stauffer with the 1, Falkowski the 2, Vanderheyden the 3, Escalona the 4. Out of our first rack of 12 and under junior dogs. Second rack in the gate right now, we've got Anderson, Hertz, Zink, Caulfield, Shannon, Cologne, Albers, and Lawrencer. Taking the top 4 onto the main event. FXR out on point. That's got to be Hertz, followed up by the Roadrunner Anderson in that 2 spot. Caulfield in that 3. Ghost Rider in that 4. Zink trying to make a move as they come down that 3rd straightaway. It still Hertz out on point. Down that last straightaway, it's going to go Hertz with the 1, Caulfield the 2, Anderson 3, Ghost Rider, Cologne with that 4 out of our 12 and under junior dogs. All right, we'll go ahead open the track up for our 13 and over. Our experts, they can go ahead and practice. Get some paperwork figured out there. I know we do have a move up to do. And we'll be back with our main event. Got a couple giveaways here. You guys want to head on down to the finish line? We got Adam Welter. You've got a giveaway down over here. Noah Elvin, you've got a giveaway. And Bobby Bertheld, you've got a giveaway. So Adam Welter, Noah Elvin, and Bobby Bertheld. You guys can come on down to the finish line. We got a couple giveaways for you. Bobby Bertheld, you got a giveaway down here at the finish line. Bobby Bertheld. All right, we do have 2 move-ups to do today. We've got Maddox Bleesey getting his wins, moving on up to expert. And then we also have our Fireball Breham getting her wins, and she's moving on up to girl expert. Hey, remember when you guys are practicing first and second straights only over there, guys. All right, let's give a big round of applause. We've got Maddox Bleesey here getting his wins, and our Kate Fireball Breham getting her wins. So pick your favorite parent. Give them a nice smile. Oh, we got to wait for Sam. Don't run away, Maddox. All right, and then we'll wait and get a nice one. Nice one for Sam here for Facebook to adore. All righty, guys, and then remember our camera right over there. Give them a nice wave. Congratulations, guys, on all your hard work. All right, we're good, Maddox. Also looking for 3 volunteers to be our ticket crew. We're looking for 3 volunteers for our ticket crew. Yeah, you are, Jeremy. Stay out here long enough. So anybody interested in... almost forgot about our Ride brand gift card giveaway. So that message has been sent out. So please check your text messages, emails. We have notified our winner. You guys can head on down to the finish line. We'll get your picture. Our Ride brand giveaway winner has been notified. Of course, it ain't me, like always. Pete Blummer, you are our Lucky Ride brand giveaway winner. He's not even listening. But Pete Blummer, you won. All right, we'll go ahead and get started with our main events. Kicking off with our 12 and under junior gal dashes in no particular order. Coming out of Isani, Minnesota for level up, we've got Avery Lanigan. Out of Oak Grove, Minnesota, riding for Ameriprise Full Tilt on the 17 bike, Reese Vanderhayden. All the way from Cleveland, Minnesota, riding for Ameriprise Full Tilt on the NAG 14, Annabelle Anderson. Out of North Branch, Minnesota, riding for Fusion on the 32 bike, Kate Fireball Breheim. Little lady got her expert move-up plaque today. Out there with her bestie, Emma Bratzel. From Pine City, Minnesota for FXR Dance Comp and Box on the Gold Cup 1, Brooklyn Shales. From Bethel, Minnesota, riding for Fusion on the Gold Cup 2, Emma Bratzel. Out of Bram, Minnesota, riding for Factory Full Tilt on the National 37 bike, Skylar Oren. Gate drops on our main event, 12 and under junior gal dash. Coming out of that first corner, it's a nice battle between Anderson and Lanigan. Ameriprise Full Tilt going to take that top spot, followed up by Lanigan in that 2. Vanderhayden in that 3, Oren in that 4. Coming out of that last corner, it's still Anderson out on point. Lanigan trying to make something happen. But it's going to go Anderson with the 1, Lanigan the 2, Vanderhayden the 3, Oren, Bratzel, Shales, and Breheim out of our 12 and under gal dash. In the gate, we got our 1329 Lady Dashers. In no particular order, Out of Isani, Minnesota, riding for Ameriprise Full Tilt on that Gold Cup 2 bike is Addie Little Red McCulley. Out of Cambridge, Minnesota for Ameriprise Full Tilt on that National 32 bike is Kendall Chaotic Elin. From Cedar, Minnesota, riding for Dynasty BMX on the 5 bike, Angie Henry. Coming to us out of Isani, Minnesota for Crank Lab BMX on that 20 bike, Brielle Garski. And last but certainly not least, out of Woodbury, Minnesota, riding for Factory Box Components on our NAG 4, Gemma Little JT Tollefson. Gate drops on our big gal dash. That's got to be Ameriprise Full Tilt out on point. Kenny E followed up by Henry in that 2 spot for Dynasty BMX. Little JT in that 3. Coming down that second straightaway, it's still Kenny E out on point. Got McCulley and Garski trying to make a move. But it's still Ameriprise Full Tilt. So Elin, she's going to take that 1. Henry, the 2. Tollefson, the 3. McCulley, 4. Garski, 5 out of our big lady dash. In the gate right now, we've got our senioritas in no particular order out of St. Francis, Minnesota for Bent Rim and Phoenix Stopka on the 71 bike, Chelsea Lee. Out of Schaefer, Minnesota for Standard on the 2 bike, Chelsea Beebe. Out of North Branch, Minnesota for Black Sheep BMX on the 443 bike, Emily Bleesey. Out of Pine City for Dirty Kids Racing on the 39 bike, Jody Dones. Out of Isani, Minnesota for your Factory Carbone Cartel on the NAG 11 bike, Kim Possible Farley. From Zimmerman, Minnesota for BMX Bandit Racing on the 1 bike, Brianne Enberg. Gate drops on our senioritas. Going down that first straight, it's got to be Farley in that top spot, followed up by Bandit BMX. Got to be Enberg in that 2 spot. Chelsea Lee in that 3. But it's Factory Carbone Cartel out on point as they make their way down that 3rd straightaway. Nice single file line for these ladies. Makes it easy for me to announce. But Farley's going to take that 1. Enberg, the 2. Lee going to take that 3. Beebe, the 4. And Dones with the 5 out of our senioritas. Top down. All right. I thought it was fitting. All right, we got our 12 and under junior dogs in the gate right now in no particular order. Out of Cannon Falls, Minnesota for factory answer on the NAG 3 bike, Jackson Stauffer. From Isani, Minnesota for XFR and Dan's Comp on the C3 bike, Corbin Hertz. Oh my God. All the way from Somerset, Wisconsin for Ameriprise Full Tilt on the 2 bike, the monster Marshall Felkowski. From Isani, Minnesota for Bent Rim Racing on a Gold Cup 2 bike, Mikey the Warhog Caulfield. From Isani, Minnesota for Crank Lab BMX on the 6 bike, Jaden Roadrunner Anderson. From Oak Grove, Minnesota, riding for Ameriprise Full Tilt on the NAG 18, Reed Wildman Vanderhayden. From Hopkins, Minnesota, riding for Dynasty BMX on the F-Bike, Josiah, the Ghost Rider Cologne. And from Princeton, Minnesota, riding for Level Up Racing Box Team on the 7 bike, Jordan Easy Escalona. Gate drops on our 12 and under junior dogs. It's got to be Stauffer out on point, followed up by Falkowski in that 2 spot. Got to be Hertz in that 3, Caulfield in that 4 as they come out of that first turn. It's factory ants out on point, followed up by Ameriprise Full Tilt. Caulfield, Hertz, nice battle for that 3-4 spot. As they make their way down that last straightaway, it's going to go Stauffer with the 1. Falkowski, Hertz, Caulfield, Cologne, Vanderhayden, Escalona, and that's got to be Anderson. And that's our 12 and under junior dogs. Got our big dogs up in the gate right now in no particular order. Out of Stacy, Minnesota, riding for Level Up Racing on the 7 bike, Jordan Bowman. Coming to you from Cambridge, Minnesota for Ameriprise Full Tilt on the 28, Bryce the Beast Blummer. Out of St. Cloud, Minnesota for Ameriprise Full Tilt on the National 78 bike, Jacob Tyson. Coming to us from St. Cloud, Minnesota for Ameriprise Full Tilt on our National 62 bike, Lucas Tyson. Out of Blaine, Minnesota for Crank Lab BMX on the 4 bike, Ben Lockenen. Out of Stacy, Minnesota for Level Up Racing on the 31 bike, Bryce Bowman. Out of Monticello, Minnesota for Black Widow BMX on the State 1, Tayden Pollock. And coming to us from Cedar, Minnesota for Dynasty BMX on the 8 bike, Preston Swanson. Gate drops on our big dog dash. That's got to be the Beast out on point for Ameriprise Phil Tilt, followed up by Lucas Tyson in that 2 spot. That's Jordan Bowman in that 3, Lockinen in that 4. As they make their way into that 3rd corner, it's still Bryce Blummer out on point. So it's going to go Blummer, Tyson, Bowman. Oh, man. Bowman, Tyson, Lockinen, Pollock, Swanson. I think I got that right. All right, got our senior dogs up in the gate right now. In no particular order, out of Isani, Minnesota for FXR Dance Comp on the 96 bike, Aaron Zidane. Out of Atkin, Minnesota for Bent Rim Racing on the 7 bike, Doug McAllister. Can they not hear me? Do I need to be louder? Just being dicks. Out of Harrisburg, South Dakota for Bent Rim Racing on the 1 bike, Mike Meyer. Out of Farmington, Minnesota for Ameriprise Full Tilt on the National Age Group 3, Adam the Ninja Welter. From St. Falls, Minnesota for North Star BMX on the 135 bike, Forrest Welch. From Zimmerman, Minnesota, riding for his wife on the 429 bike, Jason Copper Cowboy Grode. Out of Zimmerman, Minnesota, riding for Black Sheep BMX on the 150 bike, it's Mark Beard. And out of Monticello, Minnesota, riding for Black Widow BMX on the National Age Group 20 bike, it's Tyler Pollock. Gate drops on our senior dog dash. That's got to be the Ninja out on point for Ameriprise Full Tilt, followed up by Black Widow. Got to be Pollock in that 2 spot. FXR got to be Zidane in that 3 spot, followed up by Marky Mark in that 4. As they make their way into that 3rd corner, it is the Ninja all day out on point. Coming down that last straightaway, it's going to go Welter, Pollock, Zidane, Beard, Meyer, McAllister, Welch, and Grode for our dog dashes. Moto 10 up in the gate right now, our 7-8 mixed open. We've got Caulfield, Peterson, Canto, Sullivan, and Triplet. Bent rim colors got to be Little Crash Caulfield out on point, followed up by Peterson in that 2 spot. I'm thinking that's Canto. Yep, Canto's in that 3 as they make their way into that 2nd corner down that 3rd straightaway. Nice single file line. Bent rim colors leading the way, followed up by BMX Bandits. So it's going to go Caulfield with the 1, Peterson the 2, Cantos with that 3 out of our 7-8 mixed open. Moto 11 out on the track, 13-14 mixed open. 2 of these riders making the call, Staffelhagen and Breheim. Dynasty out on point, got to be Staffelhagen, followed up by Cash Money for Fusion Racing in that 2 spot. So Wesley, he's going to take the 1 in the overall 1. And Cash is going to take the 2 in the overall 2 out of our 13-14 mixed open. 9-10 open out on the track. We've got Ortiz, Simon, Bleesey, and Simon. That's Ortiz out on point, followed up by my favorite Simon, Jamie. Bleasy in that 3 spot. They come down that last straightaway. It's Black Widow out on point. So that's going to be Ortiz with the 1, Simon with the 2, Bleasy with that 3 out of 9-10 open. Moto 14 out on the track doing a little roulette, 36-40 women cruiser. We got Bolin, Farley, Enberg, Miller, Beebe, Dozen, and Bleasy. I see Black Widow out on point. Got to be Shiner Bolin, followed up by Possible Farley in that 2 spot. Enberg in that 3. Bolin with the 1. Farley 2. Enberg with the 3 out of our 36-40 women cruiser. Moto 15 out on the track, 8 cruiser. We've got Melanson, Kurth, Mauer, and Kurth. That's got to be Melanson for Pack BMX out on point. Jake Kurth putting in a battle for that 2 spot. Xander in that 3, making their way to that 3rd corner. It is all Pack BMX out on point, followed up by Bent Rim. So Melanson's going to get that 1. Jake Kurth with the 2. Xander with the 3 out of our 8-year-old cruiser. Going back to Moto 13-14 girl cruiser, we've got the Queen of Hearts, Marika Farley, and Little Crash Caulfield. That's Queen of Hearts for Fusion Racing out on point, followed up by Marlo Little Crash Caulfield for Bent Rim in that 2 spot. Fusion Rider, Marika Farley in that 3, coming down that last straightaway. Nice single file line. How they cross is how they're going to finish. So Queen of Hearts with that 1, Caulfield with the 2, Farley with that 3 out of our 13-14 girl cruiser. Back to Moto 16-9 cruiser, we've got Peterson, Kozitsa, Escalona, and Enberg. That's got to be Peterson in that top spot, followed up by Level Up, Escalona in that 2, Kozitsa in that 3. So Peterson with the 1, Escalona with that 2, Kozitsa with the 3 out of our 9 cruiser. Moto 17-11 cruiser out on the track, we've got Vanderheyden, Hoff, Zink. That's got to be the T-Train Hoff for Black Widow out on point, followed up by the Wild Man, Merit Price Full Tilt in that 2 spot. Colton, Zink in that 3. As they come down that last straightaway, it is going to go Hoff, Vanderheyden, Zink. Out of Moto 17. Moto 18 out on the track, 17-20 cruiser. We've got Bolin, Kennedy, and Lorenzer. That's Dan Kennedy out on point where he's been all day, followed up by Tater Tot Bolin in that 2 spot. The Flying Hot Dog in that 3. Nice and spread out as they come out of that last corner. So it's going to go Kennedy with the 1. Bolin going to take that 2. Lorenzer with the 3 out of Moto 18. Moto 19, 36-40 cruiser. We should have Olsen, Welch, and Moe. Got to be Josh Moe for standard out on point, followed up by Olsen in that 2 spot, Welch in that 3, making their way into that 3rd corner, nice and spread out. So Josh is going to get that 1, Olsen's going to get the 2, an overall 2, and Welch is going to get that 3, an overall 3 out of our 36-40-year-old cruiser. 51 to 55-year-old cruiser, Moto 20 out on the track, Meyer, Stoffelhagen, Oberg. That's Mike Meyer for Bent Rim Racing out on point with a couple pair of aces in his pocket, followed up by Oberg in that 2 spot where he's been all day, and Stoffelhagen in that 3. As they make their way down that last straightaway, it's going to be Bent Rim, Meyer taking that 1 in the overall 1, Oberg the 2 overall 3 or 2, and Stoffelhagen with the 3 in the overall 3 out of Moto 20. Moto 21 out on the track, our 5 and under novices. We've got Escalona, Moe, Sullivan, Brady, Welch, Reinerson, Rope, and Melanson. That looks like Escalona and the 154 bike of Sullivan battling for 1 and 2. We've got Welch in that 3 spot. And Reinerson in that 4 as they make their way down that last straightaway. Nice battle for that 1 and 2 spot going on with these guys here. Oh, Sullivan sliding in. He's going to take that 1. Escalona going to get the 2. And Welch going to get that 3 out of our 5 and under novices. Moto 21 out on the track, 6 novice. We've got Griffin, Soderman, and Beard. Soderman out on point where he's been all day. Got a couple pair of aces going into this main event. Followed up by Griffin in that 2 spot. And Beard in that 3 as they make their way out of that second corner. Going down that third straightaway. Nice single file line. Nice and spread out. How they cross is how they're going to finish. So it looks like Stoderman is going to take that 1 and the overall 1. Griffin with the 2 and the overall 2. Beard with that 3 and the overall 3 out of Moto 22. Moto 23 out on the track, 7 novice. We have Sullivan, Griffith, and Bartheld. That's got to be Joseph Sullivan out on point with a couple pair of aces going into this main event, followed up by Bobby Bartheld in that 2, Anna Griffith in that 3 as they make their way down that last straightaway. It's going to go Sullivan with the 1 and the overall 1. Bobby with the 2 and the overall 2, and Griffith with that 3 and overall 3 out of our 7 novice. Moto 24, 10 novice out on the track. We've got Cantos, Record, Bolt, Palmer, and Jarretson. That's got to be Cantos out on point out of St. Anthony, Minnesota. Followed up by Record in that 2 spot, riding for our beginner league. And then Bolton in that 3 spot. So it's going to go Cantos, Record, and Bolton. 1, 2, 3 out of our 10-year-old novice. 13-year-old novice out on the track. Moto 25, we have Phillips, Olson, Geese, Lonsky, Urbanski, Palmer, and Soderholm. Let's see. Dynasty colors, that's got to be Olson out on point. The 230, yep, so Olson's going to take that 1. Phillips with the 2, nope. Yeah, they know how they crossed. Already done messed up. Moto 26 out on the track. 46 to 50-year-old novice. We have Austin, Johansson, Grotty, Stoffelhagen, and Lee. That's got to be J.O. out on point. Oh, Austin and J.O. fighting for those 1-2 battles as they come down that last straightaway. But it's going to go J.O. with the 1, Austin with the 2, and the Copper Cowboy with that 3. Out of Moto 26, Moto 27, 5 and under intermediates. We've got Simmons, Peterson, Stauffer, Enberg, and Triplett. I see a Gold Cup 2 out on point. Got to be Miss Willow Simmons. Followed up by Emmy Peterson in that 2 spot. And Isla Triplett in that 3. As they make their way to that third corner. Nice single file line down that last straightaway, but it's the Gold Cup 2 out on point. So Simmons going to get that 1. Peterson with the 2. Triplett with that 3 out of our 5 and under intermediate. 7 intermediates out on the track. Moto 28, we have Peterson, Bailey, Moss, McGowan. That's got to be Peterson out on point, followed up by Moss in that 2 spot. Bailey in that 3. Going into that third corner, down that last straightaway, there's still single file line. It's going to go Peterson with that 1, Moss with the 2, Bailey with that 3 out of our 7 intermediates. 8 intermediate out on the track, Moto 29. We have Elvin, Maurer, Brady, Beard. Gold Cup 3, that's got to be Elvin out on point, followed up by the Commander, Maurer in that 2 spot. Brady in that 3 for Prodigy Racing. Coming down that last straightaway, it's that Gold Cup play out on point. So Elvin's going to get that 1, Maurer with the 2, and Brady with that 3 out of our 8 intermediate. Moto 39 intermediate out on the track. We've got Shuey, Lonsky, Mackey. I see Fusion colors out on point. Got to be the Burger Mackey, followed up by Liam Lonsky in that 2 spot. Shuey in that 3 as they make their way into the third corner. Down that last straightaway, all spread out. It's going to go Mackey with the 1, Lonsky with the 2, Shuey with the 3. What? Bellamo, you are needed in your shoot. Bellamo, you are needed in your shoot. 11 intermediate out on the track, Moto 31. We've got Endenoff, Geese, Zeifer, Moss, Breheim, and Brady. Got Jacob Endenoff out on point. He's going to win And with that win, let's welcome our newest expert rider, Jacob Enloff. Welcome to the experts. Moto 32 out on the track, 12 intermediate. We've got Tarnaski, Staffelhagen, and Oberg. That's Tarnaski out on point with a couple of aces in his pocket, followed up by Staffelhagen. Down that last straightaway, it's going to go Tarnaski, Staffelhagen, Enberg for our 12-year-old intermediates. Moto 33, 26 to 35 intermediate out on the track. We've got Simmons, Beard, Farley, and Nelson. That's Kachow Simmons out on point, followed up by Marky Mark Beard in that 2 spot. Nelson in that 3 spot. Nice to see him back after that crash in second round. But it's going to be Simmons with that 1, Beard with the 2, Nelson with that 3, Farley. Out of Moto 33, 26-35 intermediate. She should have been ready before she even up there. Moto 34 in the gate right now, our 7-year-old girl experts. We've got Ming, Shales, Mo, Farley, Kurth. Going down that first straightaway into that first corner. Looks like Ming's taking over that top spot, followed up by Shales in that 2. Got to be Mo in that 3 spot. Going into that second corner, Farley in that 4, trying to make her move. Single file line as they make their way into that last straightaway, but it's Casey Mings for Factory Ripped out on point. So it's going to go Mings, Shales, Farley with that 3. Out of Moto 34, Moto 35, 10 girl out on the track. We've got Anderson, Breheim, and Oren. Merit Prize full tilt out on point. Got to be Annabelle Anderson in that top spot, followed up by Skylar Oren for Factory full tilt. Fireball in that 3 spot, making her expert debut today. But it's going to go Anderson with that 1, Oren with the 2, Breheim with the 3 out of our 10-year-old X. We get a parent representative of Bellamo to the finish line, please. Parent representative of Bellamo to the finish line. Moto 36. We got our 12-year-old girls, Susha Bratzel, Lanigan, and Van Reyden. That's going to go Lanigan with that 1, Van Reyden with the 2, Bratzel with the 3 on a Moto 36. Moto 36, oh no, 37. This is our 13-year-old girls. We should have JT, Little Red, and Garski. Oh, man. Tollefson got the 1 in the overall 1. Garcia got the 2 in the overall 2. McCulley with the 3 in the overall 3 out of our 13-year-old experts. 14-year-old girl out on the track. We should have Jensen, Queen of Hearts, and Elin. That is Kenny E. out on point for a Merit Prize full tilt, followed up by Ari Johnson in that 2. Queen of Hearts in that 3. So Elin going to get that 1. Jensen with the 2. Queen of Hearts with that 3 out of our 14-year-old girl. Moto 39, 7X, out on the track. We have Simmons, Mellinson, Smith, and Simon. That's Simmons out on point, followed up by Mellinson in that 2 spot. The Cowboy in that, oh no, that's Simon in that 3 spot. As they make their way down that last straightaway, it's going to be the Gold Cup 1 of Simmons in that 1. Mellinson taking that 2. Simon taking that 3 out of our 7-year-old experts. Moto 48-year-old experts, we've got Ortiz, Nelson, Kurth, and Kurth. Black Widow out on point, got to be Ortiz, followed up by Nelson in that 2 spot. I think it's Jake Kurth in that 3. He's trying to make a move. Nice battle for 2 and 3. So it's going to go Ortiz, Nelson, and Jake Kurth for our 8-year-old experts. 9-year-old experts out on the track. We got Peterson in the lead. Kozitsa and Escalona, nice little battle in that second corner there. As they come down that last straightaway. Oh, we're losing one. Escalona taking a spill in that third corner. So Lars is going to get that first transfer. Kozitsa with the second. 11 got that third. So I'm Enberg with the 3. As we check, we got our downriders. They coming through. Moto 42, 10 experts out on the track. We got Caulfield, Vanderhayden, Zink, Albers. Caulfield's going to take that 1. Zink with that 2. Vanderhayden with the 3 out of our 10-year-old experts. We're going to take a little pause to get our downrider checked out there. Rider up. Let's give him a nice round of applause. Jordan Escaloni is a hard rider out there. All of our officials back to their position. We'll go ahead and roll right into Moto 43 with our 11 experts. We've got Falkowski, Hoff, Cologne, and Simmons. It's going to be a nice little battle here. Looks like Ameriprise full tilt off to a nice lead coming down that first straightaway. Followed up by Black Widow, Hoff in that 2 spot, Cologne in that 3. As they make their way into the second corner, nice single file line. But it's Ameriprise full tilt, going to stay out on point, so we're going to get Falkowski with that 1, Hoff with the 2, Cologne with the 3 out of our 11-year-old experts. Moto 44, 12X out on the, or in the gate, actually, they're not out there yet. We have Stauffer, Hertz, Shannon, Anderson, and Lorenzer. Jackson Stauffer with a nice lead, followed up by Corbin Hertz in that second spot. That's got to be Parker Shannon for level up in that 3 spot as they make their way down that second straightaway. But it is Factory Answer out on point. FXR, Danskop in that 2 spot. So they're going to finish Stauffer, Hertz, Shannon, 1, 2, 3 out of our 12-year-old experts. 13-year-old experts out on the track, Swanson, Moss, Tyson. That's got to be Ameriprise full tilt. Tyson out on point, followed up by Preston Swanson for Dynasty BMX in that 2 spot. The Bolt Moss for Crank Lab in that 3. So Tyson's going to get the 1 overall 1. Swanson the 2 overall 2. Moss the 3 in the overall 3 for our 13-year-old experts. What the fuck? 14-year-old experts out on the track. Fritzmeyer, Tyson, Lockinen, Bowman. It's got to be Lucas Tyson out on point on that National 62 bike, followed up by Crank Lab, Lockinen in that 2 spot, Bowman in that 3. So Tyson with the 1, Lockinen 2, Bowman 3 out of our 14-year-old experts. 16X out on the track, we've got Kudrowski, Pollock, Miller, and Henry. That's got to be Cooper Kudrowski for FXR out on point, followed up by Jack Miller in that 2 spot. Tayden Pollock in that 3 for Black Widow BMX. But it's going to go Kudrowski with that 1, Miller with the 2, Pollock with that 3 out of our 16-year-old experts. Moto 48, 21 to 25X. We've got Blummer, Riederman, Bowman, Kennedy, and Triplett. That's the Beast Blummer out on point, followed up by Dylan Riederman for FXR in that 2 spot. That's got to be Kennedy in that 3, so it'll go Blummer with the 1, Riederman the 2. Oh, I'm not calling that. Oh, Bowman going to get that 3 out of our 21-25X. 36 to 40 out on the track. We've got Pollock, Welter, Smith, Olson. Merit Prize full tilt got to be the Ninja Welter out on point. Oh, Olson sniping. Pollock getting that 2, so it's going to go Welter with the 1, Olson with the 2, Smith with the 3, and Pollock completely shuts down and gets that 4 out of our 36 40-year-old experts. All right, our last rack on our Sunday afternoon, 51 to 55 expert, McAllister, Zidane, Miller, Olberg. FXR, that's got to be Zidane out on point, followed up by Bent Rim. McAllister in that 2 spot. The Eau Claire Nightmare in that 3, making their way down that last straightaway. It's going to go Zidane with the 1, McAllister the 2, Miller the 3 out of our 51-55 expert. And that will do it for our Sunday Fire and Ice Racing, folks. Thanks for stopping on by. Remember, we've got some clinics coming up in October. Check those out on our website, rumriverbmx.com. We have our Spooktacular weekend coming up here in a few weeks. You can get all those details on our Facebook group. Join us for practice on Tuesday. Enjoy your Sunday, and have a good day.